and welcome to another episode of I Am Exuding Wellness. I am your host, Kathy Ramos, and today I have with me Dewry Bradford. He is the founder of the Health Jocks Foundation. I actually met him 3 years ago, right?
Yeah, I believe so, yes.
About 3 years ago, I had catered for one of his Health Jocks events. And then we just recently reconnected, and it was just so powerful to see what his mission is. So I wanted to bring him on to talk about, like how he started. So we're just going to jump right into that. So go ahead, Drew, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yes, I mean, my name is Dewry Bradford. When I launched the Health Jocks fashion brand, I became Dewry Dubois Bradford. It's a whole thing. We'll talk about it later. But in 2018, I kind of felt like I reached kind of like a glass ceiling in my career as a fashion designer. I've been designing since 1999. I was head designer of Sean John outerwear, Fat Farm outerwear, Steve Madden. Then I did a bunch of brands for like hip hop artists like Outkast and G Unit. And I mean, I just felt like I needed to do something more impactful for the community. I've always been a missionary because my father's a bishop. He's actually a missionary bishop and has been traveling for like 30 years to a lot of different countries and cities and continents. So I believe about 7 years ago, my church, we started traveling and we created a, concert, a gospel concert called Prayer Jam. And we started producing concerts overseas, specifically in the Caribbean, a small little island called Antigua. And, so that was like I would start getting into missions as young people. And then coming back home, I wanted to do something in the community. And at first, I started doing branding for a health and sports organization, and what gave me the health bug. I was like, wait, this is something I could do. But with that organization, we were only doing basketball and health. But I wanted to open it up to all sports because I wanted to touch all types of youth, all types of young people. And I know their interests, it varies. They're into a lot of different types of sports. So I came up with the concept of Health Jocks. And I launched in 2018. I locked in the United States Tennis Association because we started with 5 sports. We did tennis, soccer, track, basketball, and a new sport called Aerodart that was created by PSAL High School Basketball Commissioner, Coach Ted Gustis, at the time. So, and we locked in a deal with Brooklyn Borough Hall, which was Eric Adams at the time. Now he's Mayor Eric L. Adams, congratulations to him. And yeah, we launched Health Jocks, and I did it in 2018 at Kaiser Park in Coney Island. And the next year we did it at Brooklyn Bridge Park for the first time, and then also at Kaiser Park the next day. So the second year was 2 days. And then I had a meeting with Brooklyn Borough Hall, and they were like, okay, send us your nonprofit information. I was like, I'm not a nonprofit. They were like, what? You're doing this out of your pocket? Like, they said, look, you need to become a nonprofit, set up your 501c3, and let's talk business because we could do this for real on a larger scale. So the pandemic hit, boom, rug dragged from under our feet. It was a wrap. Everything was shut down, as everyone knows. And then once I saw Arnold Schwarzenegger's health festival was shut down, and he spent a couple of $1 million on his in California, I knew there was a wrap for Health Jocks. So what I did was I pivoted, and we launched the Health Jocks Vertical Festival. And Eric Adams at the time, the Borough Hall president, he shot 2 commercials for me. We locked in a bunch of different coaches from around America, and we did a virtual festival. And in addition to that, which I thought was very special, we did an hour and a half a virtual town hall meeting that focused on mental health issues. Because, when the pandemic hit, so many people were having mental health issues. Like, number one, they were stuck at home with the wife or husband they decided to marry. Now, instead of spending 5 hours of awake time, you're spending like 20 something hours of awake time and the kids and because of that, Verizon Corporate reached out to us and they had a virtual coffee break. It was Verizon virtual coffee break that they were producing for like their executive staff from 9 different offices in 9 different cities of Verizon Corporation. And they reached out to us and we hosted 2 different virtual coffee breaks where I brought on some of our professionals that really focus on mental health issues. And we just held court. We told them how to function with this kind of new normal that everyone says these days, how to function at home and the stress of, not going to work, maybe losing your job, not knowing where your next check is going to come from. So many things, so many aspects of mental health issues. And there's so much more to say about it, but you look like
for
you
sure. I know. I was kind of waiting for you to take a pause because I was like, I'm ready to jump in.
I mean, when I get started, I can't stop. Sorry, go.
No, it's totally cool. So I'm actually so I want to recap just to make sure that I'm highlighting the points because then I'm gonna start asking questions, right? So
yes,
you've always been a server, right? Like you're always one who's ready to serve, but you kind of felt like you wasn't hitting the community. It was more big money, quote unquote.
Well, initially it was overseas. And are you talking about my community services?
Well, I want to talk about what you were doing, and then I'm going to ask you about the community, right? Because you were doing more fashion based.
That's correct.
In the beginning, right? So going from fashion into sports, it's not something that people can see would easily transition into,
right.
Especially the fact that you're not even doing clothes for that, right? So
well, let me tell you the segue.
Okay.
There was actually a segue into sports because when people think of fashion, they think of peak lapel blazers and well-draped garments, dresses, and things of that nature. I did with Sean John was like the closest to a luxury brand that I designed at the time because Puff kind of wanted to be Polo Ralph Lauren. So when we were going on shopping trips, I mean, we'll travel to Paris, we'll travel to London, all these other European markets, just to kind of soak in the culture and kind of the vibe of that luxury market, right?
Right.
But so I did a bunch of urban streetwear brands, and I started delving into more suits, blazers, things of that direction. And then I kind of pivoted and got into athletic wear. So this was my introduction to hoodies and basketball outfits, uniforms, and so on court and off the court product. So I was head designer of K1X, which is a German basketball brand. Well, let's call it a German street athletic brand. Then there was Protege, which is a basketball brand, a brand that you may know called And One. That was
finally exciting. One I know. Yes.
I know. It's but Protege is sold at Walmart or whatever. So
I didn't know that.
You may not know about that, but so And One was a big one for me because it was a real connection to the streets. Right. So it really opened me up to understanding the connection and relationship between community and sports.
Right.
And that's around the time that I met Coach Ted Gustis. Now, when I say he was the PSAL high school basketball commissioner for Brooklyn, Brooklyn is the biggest borough.
Yeah.
And also New York City is the biggest basketball market. So
I didn't know that.
Essentially, he was like king. He was like governing the mecca of basketball, right? So me being connected to And One and him being connected to the public high school sector, let's call it, right, of basketball. This is where young people get discovered, right? They get discovered by colleges. If they're too good, they get discovered by the NBA, and then they're all the way into the NBA. So this market was you know, really primed for this Health Jocks platform that I created.
So now
Because
why, right? Because I want to get
yeah,
into that because it's more of, you know, everybody knows sports and physical therapy kind of goes hands in hands with all of that. But when you come
yeah,
in like health wise, bridging that body edification where it's not just, okay, let's just do stretches and stuff like that. Let's just run the drills, but actually like what you're feeding yourself, like
yes.
how did that light bulb go off?
So our motto is healthy minds, healthy bodies, healthy environment. Those are the three pillars of Health Jocks and Health Jocks Foundation. And
Wait, I'm sorry, one more time. So it was healthy minds.
healthy minds, healthy bodies, healthy environment.
So that is so close to mine because I'm renew your mind, energize your body, bring joy to your soul. So I love that we're so in sync with that. But
We're
so I want
spirit.
to know, how did you get to
Yeah.
create this model? Like what inspired you to do that?
So when I caught the health bug, the health and sports bug, that was when I met Coach Gustus, and connecting to young people. I never just jump into something. I always do research on what it is, the market, how it started, different things like that to get me kind of acclimated to whoever I'm approaching or going to be dealing with. And I did research on mental health because that was the pandemic that no one was talking about at the time. Remember, this is 2018.
Yeah.
2020, when the pandemic hit for America, it was in March. I don't know if you remember, it was March. That was like, it was right after New York Fashion Week. I remember very clearly. And that's when the buzzword, the hot topic was mental health issues, but in 2018, I tapped into that pandemic because it's a human being issue. Every human being at some point in their life will experience some form of mental health issue, right?
Yeah.
I started doing research on young people, and I found out 20% of young people actually admitted to wanting to commit suicide. But if you think about
I'm
how
sorry, is that across the United States, or did you go into, okay.
that's across the United States. And if what we know about young people, because guess what? We used to be young once also. Those are the kids that actually admitted it.
Yeah.
Think about that.
Right. No, yeah, as soon as you said it, that's why I was like, wait, are we talking like how big of kids? Because that's probably closer to like 50, 60%.
Yeah. I mean, so they're claiming 1/5. That's, you have 5 kids, that's 1, 2, 3, 4. That one right there admitted it.
Yeah.
How many other kids
were
just stressed out about relationship, about their position in their community, in their space, right? Just so many reasons why kids get depressed and just ready to leave out of here. Sometimes it's just lack of acceptance.
Well, it's really self-acceptance. I'm actually like, wow, because I homeschool my children. So there's a lot of things that like we talk about that because they're interacting with kids who go to school. And my daughter's now on this thing of how it's cool, right? Everything is so cool. It's so cool. And so to have the conversation about what is cool and why do we seek justification from everyone else? Because that's the biggest thing, right? Like, I don't have name brand stuff, so now kids are going to make fun of me, or I'm not doing good in school, so now I have to be the class clown just to get people to like me. And now you're not even finding out who you are because you're so like, I need them, right? Like, I need that outside validation. I'm just like, so I'm working it out in my head because now I'm like, but now you're home, right? So now you're going through all of these issues, and it's just like, there's no outlet. Like, this is freaking insane. All right, so now you're solving this. I'm excited. Tell me how.
Listen, so I can't even claim that it's something that can be solved. It's the beginning of a conversation. I have a hashtag campaign called Mental Health Initiative. And our focus is, so I did another little deep dive into, okay, so we have this pandemic, everyone on earth is dealing with it. Most people tap into their childhood and kind of draw from issues and feelings and roadblocks and, really bad experiences that they've experienced when they were younger, and it plagues them and tortures them throughout their life, right?
Mhm.
So we have all these deep-seated issues that we're dealing with, and a lot of people don't understand the power or value of having a counselor or having, the church, someone who can mentor you, because what that does is it allows you to speak. It gives you a voice to, sometimes you don't even know what you're dealing with inside until someone asks you the right question. You know what I mean? So initially my plan was, okay, how do we galvanize the young people to show up on our platform? My thought was sports is a really great vehicle, and music, another great vehicle, right? Because what you want to do is to get them to gather, right? And once you have your jazz hands up, now you could start selling them an understanding of how to maneuver in life, because life, as you know,
Crazy.
full of storms, full of waves. Jesus Christ, it gets crazy. So we bring the kids in, and then we start having open conversation about, how do you feel? What are your thoughts? How's life? So what that kind of did for me, so we had a few years of doing all of these events. Notably, last year, we partnered with the United States Marine Corps. And what they did was they came in, we did it at Brooklyn Bridge Park, and we had these kind of mentoring sessions with the young people. So the kids came to play basketball and to learn new skill sets and drills to up their game. But in the midst of all of that, we had mentors who came and spoke to the young people and encouraged them, and they were able to see themselves in these, like, now Marines who have, risen to a point in life where they have discipline, they have structure, they have a purpose.
Yeah.
My whole thing for most of my adulthood is you need to find your purpose, because a man without a purpose, a woman without a purpose will die, because what are you living for?
Yeah.
What's your drive? And I'm telling you, if you can hone into what your purpose really is, you'll make better decisions because your focus is accomplishing that purpose. So now when your friends are like, yo, let's do that, let's do this, everyone talks about, oh, I'm a brand. When the rappers started talking about, I'm a brand, I'm not just a celebrity, I'm not just when you tap into the fact that you're a brand, then you start taking yourself seriously and making better decisions. So if you going to that particular party does not line up or align with your brand, you're going to decide not to go. If taking drugs and doing this and doing that is not a part of your brand, you'll make the decision not to do this. So it's like a deterrence, right?
Yeah.
Once you understand who you are and what your purpose is in
Dude,
life.
you literally just sold it for me. Oh my goodness. Click the link below. Download your action map. Go ahead, finish going. Cause Dupa. I'm like,
no,
wow.
I have something else to say, people. So I said, look, I don't want to just be a nonprofit, and we're officially a 501c3 nonprofit. We registered with the IRS, and then we received that January of last year. So we've been functioning fully as a true nonprofit with the ability to give tax breaks and so on and so forth. And so, but what I want to say is, it was so important for us to now pivot again and get into education, right? So it's now health education. And when I say health, it's not just physical education, because we have coaches for that, we do. And it's not just, like healthy environment, because, that's about, the ozone layer and it being destroyed and all of these harmful emissions that we put out into the atmosphere that really creates global warming. But deeper than that it's the human psyche. It's about the mind of a young person. And to go a little deeper, the underserved community, we struggle more because there are a lot more issues that we have to deal with even as young people. So, just really kind of honing in and teaching young people about their history. I have a lady, her name is Nepakara, right? And former social worker, former person in the school system as an advisor for many, many, many years. She and I, we came together to form what will be the Health Jocks curriculum. It's going to be a health and sports curriculum, but we're not just teaching the external. We're getting into the history of culture.
Yeah.
And that's another thing that's so important, because when you understand who you are, where you came from, what your culture was, and you now have the ability to now integrate that into your current life, and to also understand, why are you the way you are? Why do you do what you do? Understanding and knowing yourself, just like you just touched on with your company as well. When you start learning who you are and knowing who you are and the right things to do, the right way to function, you make better decisions in society, because you now learn your place in society. And then when you look in, there's role models around you that you can pattern yourself after. Or for the young person that's a super uber entrepreneur who wants to just, push the envelope and break down barriers, why don't you go out there and find representation that is not there, and plant that flag on the top of that mountain and say, I'm going to be the representative for this particular genre or this particular angle, or, find your space in life, find your space in the community, and thrive. Because as minds get healthier, bodies get healthier, environments get healthier. When you as an adult is on the train on your way to work to make a regular 9-to-5 salary to feed your family, you're not running into people with mental health issues that's trying to stab people on the train. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about when it comes to healthier environments, right? It's not just planting seeds and growing crops, and which is all great. It's not just about repurposing solar energy and rainwater and human waste. No, it's also about the lifestyle and the atmosphere and the vibe of your community. It's about walking outside and not have to duck a bullet because you heard they're shooting up the block, or knowing your block is a hot spot and you can't comfortably sit in front of your house or sit on the stairs and be comfortable and open up your laptop and read a book because your block is hot and people are circling around the block looking for the Vic.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, it's so true. So
no,
let's pause, because dude, you touched so much. We're gonna pause right here and stay here for a little bit. So it's I personally believe it's fear, right? And fear has a way of coming in and knocking off. And this is the reason why I homeschool, because history is not our history. They're teaching us the white man's history. Anything that we learn about Black people, they were literally created out of magic and became slaves. Like, that's kind of how they're programming us to think, right? So if you don't understand your greatness, or even just what they went through, then you won't even understand why you have generational curses within you to even release it. Because you're like, wait, why am I this way? Right. And it's because of your great grandmother and what her trials and tribulations were. So I love that like, I'm so loving this, dude. So now, again, click the link, find your purpose, take action against fear. Like, download the workbook. It's 100% free. And it's really just going to align with everything that he said. Because if you're just looking for your next come up, you're literally playing into the game that society has for you, right? So for you to be able to teach them of like where your people came from, and like, just all of the great kings and queens that we had that we don't even know about. How many movies have we watched about Africa and they're played by white people? Like, that gets into your psyche. So now you're thinking that selling drugs on the corner is your only outlet, but it's like, dude, you could sell drugs on the corner. You could run a business, like some legit stuff, because you already got the sales, the marketing, the clientele. Like you already understand that whole master plan.
Yes.
Dude, I'm so excited for this. So you're like man on fire right now. Like I'm so loving this. Now, I do want to talk about, because people listening to this, I think it's important to know that you can pivot and you can transition, and you don't have to stay in that same field, right? Because you were fashion and you were really good at it. Like you were working with like big name people. Yeah. So to be able to face fear and leave that behind, right? Like how many of those negative thoughts came into your head of like, dude, you're not gonna make it. Why you giving up all of that money? How you gonna start from scratch? You know, like that holds so many people back within itself. So for you to be like, yo, I switched, and then now I'm switching again, like that's super powerful. So do you have affirmations that you say to yourself, or do you have like cleansing routines so that you can face fear and put it behind you?
Okay, so for me, I'm a little, well, I would like to think that I'm a little different. I always hear that I kind of function in a different manner because I have the ability to, you know, remember, okay, so I was raised in church. And you know, when they're like, oh, it's not only about name it and claim it. If you think about what the concept of naming it and claiming it, if you align yourself with the purpose that you know you're on a certain trajectory, right? In life, remember, you have a starting date, you have an ending date of your life. Within that dash, right? You know, you look at a tombstone, you see the dash in between the two numbers. Within that dash, you need to find out what your purpose is, right? So if you understand your purpose, I know what my purpose is, right? My purpose is service.
Yeah, me too. Oh, I love that.
Service, yes. Or my Health Jocks event, free to come to, free for the public, come through, because we have information that we want to share with you guys. We have nonprofits, we have pediatricians, we have you know, established professionals with healthy, wealthy information that can be free to the public if you just only come. So many benefits. There's so many benefits to come into these Health Jocks events. But in terms of affirmations, I say to myself, once I decide to do something, I execute. If you can just think, I'm not gonna be one of those people who drop the ball, get lazy and lose sight, lose focus, and you say to yourself, I'm a closer. I decide, I create a strategy, and I follow through, and you execute. That's what's gonna make you successful in life. And that's what I had to do. Listen, I came from, everyone says this, I came from nothing, right? I came from something, but in terms of career, in terms of fashion, I came from nothing. I used to always love fashion like everyone else. I was on the outside looking in, but I mean, I used to draw, and the way I got into fashion school is a whole other conversation. I went to FIT, but if you think about my life being led by God and everything that I had to do to get to this point in life, I'm talking about missionary trips. I'm talking about, you know, feeding the homeless, you know, traveling to Haiti, traveling to Jamaica, all of these other locations where there's so much poverty, you know, and then coming back home, I'm out there helping to service the poverty-stricken people overseas. I come home and all of our neighborhoods are poverty-stricken, man. That's unacceptable. We are a capitalist society. We are America. When I was born in Boston, Massachusetts, my parents lived in Antigua. They brought me to America. Before I came to America on the plane, they told me, everyone said it, when you get to America, the streets, this is gonna sound stupid, the streets are paved with gold.
And then you came and it was all dirty.
No lie. When I saw that tarmac, when we landed in the airport and I saw that black tarmac, I was like, what is this? And then when I went to the hood, I was like, oh, abandoned buildings, crackheads. Remember, that's the crack era, right?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. It was, I think, in 1980, whatever. So, I mean, just understanding the amount of struggle that we as human beings, let's say we as Americans, go through. And God forbid someone messed you up as a child, because as a child, you're the most vulnerable. A lot of these young people have no fathers. A lot of these young people have no guidance, and they fall into the hands of gangs. They fall into the hands of, child molesters and pedophiles, and kids are disappearing, by the way, in the hood.
Yeah.
And
In heavy numbers. Like, that's what's so insane. It's in heavy numbers, and that they have us that we're not even caring about our neighbor, right? It's like, oh, well, at least it didn't happen to me. Like, that's the kind of attitude. So it's insane how, like, really the programming is so real, which is why I think your education is so important, because if we're not loving our neighbor and we're not looking out for, at minimum, your block, right? Like, you don't like what's going on in your block, just come together. What is that, like 20, 30 houses? Like, y'all could really do damage and shut your block down, that they have no choice but to relocate.
Right?
You're tolerating it because of comfort, because you're not able to face your fears and be proactive about your life. But that goes into the programming. So your curriculum is really gonna encourage people to love themselves, because that one thing, dude, if you don't love yourself, there's no way you're gonna be able to love anybody else, right? Like, you can't give from an empty cup. Absolutely. So I'm so loving this. So now this whole podcast is to show people that they're not alone, right? Like, the dreams and the inspirations and the desires that they have, like, everyone that I bring on has that story to share with them. And I'm loving how you're in all these different areas, but it kind of all comes back to the serving, right? Because
absolutely,
I believe we were created. I believe that God molded us out of the dirt, which is why we need the earth in order to continue to live, and that he put our breath of life into us and gave us natural talents. How many of us don't even understand what our natural talents are, or take advantage of them without even appreciating it, knowing that that's going to help you monetize, that's going to help you create the life that you want, because unless you start taking action, you'll never find your purpose, right? You thought your purpose was fashion, and look at how many times you changed it. Like, dude, it's amazing.
God did that. And honestly, you have to look at life as just a series of steps, right? I mean, it's a path. Let's think about that, right? In order for you to get to point Z, there's a whole alphabet you got to get through to get to point Z. Think about it, people. So my thought is this, like, if you don't start thinking seriously about why you are on this earth, what you are supposed to achieve, what life you're supposed to touch, what brand you're supposed to create, you are going to start making the worst decisions that you will not believe. You're going to end up in jail. You're going to end up dead, maimed, heartbroken. You break hearts, hurt people. Like, think about all the cliches that we know. Those cliches are cliches for a reason, because those are facts. Hurt people. And if you are struggling with mental health issues and there's triggers, triggers can be a smell, can be someone's look, it could be something you see. Triggers creates dark moments for people who are struggling with mental health issues, and it takes you back to a moment of despair or anguish or embarrassment. And those are things that create depression. And when you stay inside of your head, that's the beginning of disaster for you. You need to get out of your head, start getting active, start speaking to people. Honestly, start going to church, because you have to understand we are all spiritual people. We are in this physical body. That's why for us, it's healthy minds, healthy bodies, healthy environment. I'm going to get to the environment in a second, but you have to understand. And my father, Bishop Bradford, on the virtual podcast, the Health Jocks virtual festival that we had a town hall meeting, and he spoke about the relationship between the mind and the spirit and the body. Yeah, and I mean, look, go to Health Jocks, go on YouTube, type in Health Jocks, all that information is there, and you'll understand the relationship. You'll understand that your body should be ruled by your spirit, right? And what happens is the body and the spirit, they kind of battle for the soul, for the real you, right? And that's a whole other conversation, and we can get into that deeper. But I want to also touch on healthy environment. Today, I have someone who flew in from Virginia. He's my project manager. He sits on many boards, and he's also a part, he forms groups who built the new World Trade Center, the new Yankee Stadium, the African American Museum, and the structures around the Baltimore Harbor. Like he's connected to some amazing architects. I did a deep dive into, okay, when I build the Health Jocks facility, I don't want it to just be a building. I don't want it to be like, go here, go in there, Health Jocks lives in there. No, I wanted the building to actually be eco-friendly, sustainable. I wanted to get into the issue of global warming. And I took a real deep dive and I studied architecture, and then I found there is an architect, his name is Stefano Boeri, right? From Italy. And he created this concept called the vertical forest, right? And what it is essentially, it's a residential building that, you take 2 trees from the forest and then you plant it on the balcony of that building. So with that initial concept, I wanted to take it to a step further. I think the number is like 75% of emissions that go into the environment, into the sky, into our atmosphere comes from the inner city. So the concept is bringing the forest to the inner city and start creating kind of like a counterbalance of, like CO2 emissions, all the kind of combat what's currently happening right now. And so the Health Jocks facility will be called the Health Jocks Vertical Forest because it's going to be part mall, part residential, part recreational, right? And the actual building itself, because we're going after the LEED award, LEED, the LEED award. Okay. It's something given by a governing body of people who love and respect the environment. And when you build a structure that shows like the repurposing of solar and wind and rain and human waste, things of that nature, the amount of components that you add to that structure, you can get a LEED award. And that's my goal. Because
so wait, are you going to be using hemp?
No. So what I did was I gleaned from him, because I could only imagine he's super expensive at this point, because he's built a bunch of different vertical forests. So I want to bring this concept to New York. I'm already in talks with constituents, right? A part of his administration. And we're currently in talks right now. But I want New York City to become the epicenter, the healthy metropolis of America. That's what my goal is. I'm going to start with New York, and then I'm going to take it on a tour around America and do it in every single market. That's what the plan is.
Dude,
so come with me,
awesome.
People. Yes,
so now let me ask you, right? Because you're super, super ambitious and you're actually getting stuff done, right? Like you're not just like, oh, here are all of my ideas. Like you're actually checking off lists.
Yes.
So how do you organize your desires and then make them into action steps?
It's about relationship, and it's about stick-to-itiveness. It's about drive. It is about ambition, but there's so much negative connotation connected to ambition. And I want people to kind of change the way they view ambition. It's not when you're ambitious, there's different ways you can be ambitious. I'm not talking about, oh, I'm ambitious, I'm hoarding, I'm a ball hog, I'm taking this, I'm doing it on my back. Relax, relax. What we're talking about is, yes, take an issue on your back, but do it for the greater good. Figure out how to make money, how to increase your lifestyle, how to improve your lifestyle. But in the middle of all of that, do it for the people. Because when you start giving back to people, you create this uncontrollable spiral of people making better decisions, environment improving, health improving, right? Longer life, right? Because the better decisions you make, the longer your life will be. Healthy relationships, right? That's all off of the give back. I'm touching lives right now, lives that I don't even know I'm touching. You know why? Because we now become a part of these young people's history. Think about it. We are now a part of their history because they remember last summer when they were with the US Marines, and they experienced a day in the life of healthy living, sports, so on and so forth. So the whole plan is to focus, make a decision, and really execute that decision and take it as far as you can. And when you can't go anymore, pivot and now go down a different route to achieving another issue or problem that the world has. Because it's about problem solving. Yeah. Jump and go. I see your lips.
So damn, dude, like I feel like I gotta bring you back. We're almost out of time. So what are your last words of wisdom?
My last words of wisdom is get behind something that you believe in that will improve the mental state and the health state of us, people who look like you and me. And don't stop at that. Take it as far as you can. And when you can't take it anymore, pivot, figure something else out, and go after it. Because remember, as long as you find your purpose in life, you can't die until that purpose is achieved. And I strongly believe that. And I want you to take that to the end. Last thing I do want to say is we're producing at Brooklyn Bridge Park. They opened up Pair 3, where we're going to create an environment, right? So it's a festival from 3 to 7 where we're bringing all the different faiths in New York. This is what we're speaking about to the mayor's office right now. We bring all the faiths of New York together to begin the healing of the city. And the concert that I mentioned earlier that we had overseas, we're bringing it to New York. It's called Prayer Jam Slam Fest. And we're doing that on September 25th at Brooklyn Bridge Park, Pair 3, and it's gonna be amazing. We're gonna have all the top gospel artists. This is a gospel concert, but in the beginning, we're gonna have like kind of like a carnival atmosphere with clowns and people on stilts and line bands and steel pan bands and all this amazing stuff. And this year, I forgot to tell you, instead of the Marines this year, we're partnering with the Army. So we're gonna do Health Jocks Festival, bigger and better. And I just wanna give you the date, and my computer died.
It's okay.
Oh, wait,
so no, listen, it's okay because everything's gonna be right below. So they can definitely go ahead, click the links there. Okay. His social media is gonna be there, his website, the link. But definitely follow this guy because just all the free information that he's giving out, I mean, lack of resources can no longer be an issue because it's 100% free, right? So you can't just be like, oh, I don't have the money. Like you can find the time. I'm a strong believer that if you truly want it, you'll move mountains to get it.
You know what? I want to change something that you just said. It's not free because I want you guys to pay by making some better decisions in your life. Pay by getting behind the things that we're doing on this earth to make our world a better place to live in.
That's how pay it forward?
Pay it forward, pay it backwards, but make sure you make a decision and pay. Pay with your lives, pay with your decisions. And so just to let you know, the Health Jocks event that we're gonna do, it's gonna be just one day at Brooklyn Bridge Park, Pier 2 at the basketball courts. It's gonna be Saturday, August 20th, from 10 to 6 p.m. 10 a.m. to 6 p.m.
Are you guys excited? I'm so excited. This is going to be amazing. So I thank you so much for being on. I think we're definitely going to have you on again, just because there's so many like little things that we didn't actually talk on. I'm actually really digging it because I feel like you talk like me. So we're just like,
I talk so much
with it.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
All right, awesome. So thank you so much, and I'll see you guys on the next episode.